name is Jennifer Heverin, and today I'm going to be talking to you about HubSpot and their article about Neil Rackham's book, Spin Selling. They actually provided us with a summary of the book, Spin Selling, and I'm going to talk to you about what I found were the three most important things in that summary. SPIN is a strategy of selling. SPIN is an acronym that's situation, problem, implication, and need payoff. What this strategy is basically it's a method for salespeople to have guidelines of questioning, and when you have a prospect, what are the order of things that you should investigate first. So the situation, you want to look at where they are in the market, where their competitors are in the market. The next is problems. So if they're not at the top of the market, why not? Do they have any problems? How are those problems affecting their business? How can those problems be resolved? And can your product or service resolve their problem? If at the end of your investigation you really do think that your product or service can be a solution, and the next step would be demonstrating that product and explaining the features, benefits, and advantages of that product, and how it, using real-world examples, and Neil touches on this in his summary, using real-world examples when talking about your product or service to a prospect is huge. It is groundbreaking, because if you can show them with your research and your data and your understanding of their industry and their company and what's going on, what's something that needs to change in order for them to grow. If you can figure out that your product or service can be a solution for them, I don't see why you can't close this sale. So in the Spin Selling summary, Neil talks about how the traditional techniques of selling may not be the best, and in his opinion, his spin tactics are the controversial sales training, but in the end are very powerful with the evidence they provide. To dig into that further, one of the things that he points out, a question that a lot of salespeople have, is why do closing techniques work in small sales but fail in larger ones? So first, I want to point out that this book came out in 1988, and since then we've had a lot of resources and a lot of developments in the way we conduct sales. So you, in the article that HubSpot wrote, really touches on this. They talk about how the first two steps, situation and problem, a lot of those questions you can try to answer on your own. Every company now has a website, has a Facebook, people have LinkedIn's. You can try to figure out the background of a company, the where their business is, where their locations are. There's so much on the internet, so try to do as much research before you meet with a client, because you don't want to waste your time and theirs with questions that you can figure out on your own. And time is usually very limited, so you don't want to waste your time on and not be able to ask questions you really need answers for. So particularly in the question, why do closing techniques work in small sales but fail in larger ones? Spin has a core core techniques and principles that hold true to typical buying journeys. However, since then, we need to ask more. I'm sorry. Sorry. We need to ask more thought-provoking questions. We can connect some of the dots ourselves, so when we ask questions, we should show that we've done research. I see that you have done this in your organization, perhaps, or have you considered this strategy? Take what you know, verify it, and then ask further. And make sure you bring data. Statistics can really affect people, and when they hear statistics, it really puts in perspective what the world and their competitors are doing, or what their industry is providing or not providing. So it's I really like how Neil touched on that, and even more that HubSpot kind of dove into it and then explained it in a present day scenario. So to answer the question, why do closing techniques work in small sales but fail in larger ones, is because a lot of those closing techniques that are in traditional selling are people can see through them. There's a whole list of closing techniques where you can summarize everything up. So this is what your business is. This is the problem you're having. Our product can do this. When should I schedule the installation? And then it's a matter of yes or no. You don't even really check in with them first. You kind of assume. There's another closing technique where a lot of clients expect discounts or add-ons, bundles. So you kind of have to keep that in mind when you offer them something. That's why a lot of prices and rates are kept private, because if everybody knew everybody's prices, then they would want something definitely lower. So what's the point? So a technique like that, you might want to say, I can give you all of these products for this price. And usually that price is a little padded. And then, clients expect favors and bonuses. So you can add on things, but you have that cushion so that you don't lose income. Closing techniques like that, sometimes people see through them. So especially for larger sales, it's usually a lot more money, hence larger. So a lot more thought, and there's a lot more decision makers or gatekeepers to decision makers. So you have to keep that in mind when you're selling, who you are talking to, and kind of see through body language and tone where they are at, how engaged they are. Because if you do your investigation right and you demonstrate your product's features, advantages, and benefits correctly, I think that obtaining a commitment should be easier. Definitely. The better you study up and explain how your product and can measurably affect and improve their business or solve a problem, how can they not want to buy from you? Then it's a matter of just objections. And the better you are at explaining a product and what it can do, you might already see in hindsight what objections they may have, and try to answer those before they even ask or interject them. So thank you for listening to me, and I hope